Talking about the price, everything's like more expensive to produce, including iPhones. Hey everyone, as we're getting closer to the iPhone 14 release, there are more and more leaks coming out, giving us some clues about how the iPhone 14 might turn out. So today I wanted to discuss some of that because if you watched my last video from the Apple Store, I wasn't sure if I was gonna get the iPhone 13 or wait for the 14. So I feel like reading all of these rumors about the iPhone 14 just makes me really excited to actually wait for the iPhone 14 instead of just running to the Apple Store and getting the iPhone 13 right now, which I really feel like doing, but we need to be patient and just wait. So yeah, there's been so many rumors, everything from like the notch disappearing to Touch ID coming back and some really crazy stuff. So we're gonna talk about that today. Alright, I have everything on my iPhone, so let's talk about the first point. So the models of the iPhone 14 will be first a iPhone 14, the normal one, and then an iPhone 14 Pro. But then the really cool thing, I think this is really great of Apple, they've actually just made a bigger version of both of those phones. So there's gonna be an iPhone 14 Max and then an iPhone 14 Pro Max. So you get the same specs in the iPhone 14 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and same thing for the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Max, just different sizes. So I think that's a really good concept, honestly, because it's kind of like the MacBooks where you can choose between different screen sizes, but it's still the same MacBook. So yeah, as always, Apple just differentiate a cheaper and more expensive model by doing this, which is actually kind of smart because the people who want a more like luxury phone gets the iPhone 14 Pro or iPhone 14 Pro Max, and then those who want the cheaper version can get the normal iPhone 14 or iPhone 14 Max. So everyone kind of gets happy. I'm not saying any iPhone is cheap, but at least like there's a cheaper version, which psychologically when you're gonna buy it, you're more prone to buy it if you think it's actually like the cheaper version, there's something more expensive and you feel like you're saving money, but you're still paying a lot for it. Yeah, so talking about the price, a lot of sources think the price will start at $799 for the iPhone 14, which is the same price as the iPhone 13 was. Personally, I think obviously like the prices will depend a lot on how many and how big upgrades there are to the iPhone 14, but this year like a lot of people think there's gonna be some major upgrades, which we're gonna talk about later. But also Apple couldn't really call the new iPhone's next generation if there weren't actual feature upgrades. So like you can kind of count on there's gonna be upgrades, but the question is just how big upgrades there's gonna be. I'm actually thinking about the prices because like the economy in the world right now is kind of crazy. Like gas prices, electricity prices have gone up, which causes manufacturing prices to go up, so everything's like more expensive to produce, including iPhones. And of course like Apple always increases their prices due to inflation, and inflation is like really high right now, so they would have to increase their prices like kind of a lot to keep up, because if they don't increase their prices, their new phones are just gonna get like cheaper and cheaper, which obviously isn't a good business model. I actually looked this up, and due to a source, Apple has increased their prices 26% over inflation. So and I think we all know like an iPhone doesn't cost $1,000 to produce, but still we pay that price for it. So if manufacturing costs have gone up for Apple, they are either gonna have to put a higher price on their products or accept a lower return, which I don't think they will do. But also guys, if you think about it from another perspective, like the buyer's perspective, living costs are also increasing right now. Like if Apple also increases their prices and make the iPhones more expensive, people aren't gonna be able to afford it, and then they're gonna move on to cheaper options like other brands, which obviously also isn't good for Apple. And yeah, but it's all like up to the market. Obviously if there's a demand for it, then Apple will do what it takes to make the most money. I can probably talk about that forever, but let's move on to the next point. So the sizes of the iPhone 14, according to TrendForce, both the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro will be 6.1 inches, and then the iPhone 14 Max and 14 Pro Max will be 6.7 inches, which is, I think, really good because you can like use the same cases for both of those. And also the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro will have an A15 chip, while the iPhone 14 Max and 14 Pro Max will have an A16 chip. Also, according to this, the iPhone 14 and 14 Max will be aluminium, and the Pros will be steel. Alright, but let's talk a little bit about the camera, because that's like my favorite feature of the iPhones. I just filled up my entire phone of 256 gigabytes just because I'm on vacation and taking way too many pictures. But it's actually been rumored that the iPhone 14 will have a 48 megapixel wide camera, which, if you don't know what that means, like a standard phone usually has 12 megapixels. But however, there are actually many phones already on the market that have 48 megapixels, just not Apple, which is probably why like a lot of people criticize Apple. But megapixels isn't what's going to like determine the quality of your photos. It's just like if you zoom in, it shows more detail and the image is gonna be more sharp if you zoom in. So I think that's actually really good if you like taking Instagram pictures, take them from the same distance, and then after in editing you just zoom in and there is still gonna be like really good quality, which I feel like now if you do that you can kind of see like it's a little bit blurry. And then also the selfie camera is rumored to shift to a 12 megapixels camera. So what that means is it's gonna make the selfie camera more like the back camera. So it's gonna show a lot more details. And this is actually a thing I think Apple is very likely to do because they've already done it for the MacBook and iPads. Like since iPhones are the like main device that people use for like FaceTiming and people just use this selfie camera a lot, I feel like this is something they need to do. It would be kind of weird if they didn't do it for the iPhones. Yeah, and then last thing about the camera is they're also rumored to improve the aperture of the selfie camera to f1.9 from f2.2. And what this does is basically it makes the background more blurry. I can actually show you on my big camera what kind of difference it makes, but it really gets to that like photographer look, you know, with the bokeh and blurriness in the background. Alright, so then the cable for the iPhone. A lot of people think Apple is ready to move on to USB-C for this year's iPhone, but a lot of people also think they aren't gonna do that already this year, but instead actually remove the port totally. So if they actually did that, then your only option for charging would be wireless or magnetic charging. I don't know, I don't think like that would be good, because like just an example, in the car I like to charge my phone with a cable instead of having it on the wireless charger, because if I have it on the wireless charger I can't check it while I'm charging, and I often use my phone like during long road trips or stuff like that and I want to charge it, but if there's only a wireless charger I couldn't really do that. And I feel like that applies to just like being at home overall. You might be laying in your bed and you wanna charge your phone but still use it. You can't really do that while wireless charging it if you don't have one of those cases, I guess. But I definitely don't think that portless iPhone is going to happen this year, because that would be like a huge step forward, and Apple likes to take it slow, so you'd probably like see some signs of it before, which could definitely happen this year. And then also the Touch ID, which is what has been like so talked about. So they are rumored to actually take back the Touch ID but place it on the power button, which I honestly think would be a really good idea. I would love to have both Face ID and a Touch ID. I feel like it'd be really convenient to have it on the power button, but then there are some sources that have said there isn't a timeline for Apple doing this. They're probably gonna do it at some point, but then they could also use a under display Touch ID, which but that would like require a lot of area for it, because there's something about the technology of it. I'm not gonna go into it. There's something about it that's like a little complicated. And then the Face ID, this guy Ross Young, he stated that they're not going to hide the Face ID sensors until 2024. I don't know if you can see it here on my phone, but you can like have the Face ID sensors up here. So Face ID is like likely to look the same. They're still gonna have the notch house for it, but they're probably gonna make the notch a bit smaller and remove like all of this area that isn't necessary. Alright, so that was some of the technology of the iPhone 14. And now for the rumored colors, there actually aren't a lot of sources for the colors, but the ones that have been talked about are Midnight, Starlight, Sky Blue, Red, and Purple. I don't know what to think, but I really hope they bring back a golden iPhone and a like rose gold iPhone, not like the iPhone 13, like the baby pink, more like a mix between gold and pink. And yeah, the purple definitely can happen, but I'm having a little hard time imagining purple iPhone 14 Pro. But if they decide to have a purple phone, I really hope it's a really light purple, almost like a gray purple. That would be really pretty actually. Alright, but yeah, that was some of the rumors for the iPhone 14s. It's actually getting really close. What is it now? Like, it's only 2 months left actually. So definitely comment down below what you think the iPhone 14 will be like, if it's gonna have some special features and what colors. If you want to keep having updates about the iPhone 14, definitely subscribe because I'm gonna make a lot more videos about it, especially now that it's getting closer. We're gonna get so much more information now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.